My subject today is going to be Esperanto, and I'll refer to Ludwig Zamenhof and to the city of Białystok. And now I'll begin. Ladies and gentlemen, we often hear that English, or some form of English in any case, is becoming a sort of global language. It's used in business, in the media, and particularly on the internet, as well as in international diplomacy. Not everyone's happy about this, of course. English is associated with economic and military domination by the United States and the Americanization of many of the world's cultures. English was also the language of the British Empire, and therefore is viewed as a language of colonialism. So, while it may be an international language, it's not necessarily a neutral language. But no language is, for that matter. Over the centuries, different people have attempted to create a universal language that wouldn't carry this type of cultural baggage with it. Esperanto is one of these languages you may be familiar with. Esperanto was the brainchild of Ludwig Zamenhof. Zamenhof was born in Białystok, in what is now Poland, in 1859. At the time of Zamenhof's birth, however, Białystok was under Russian rule. A majority of its population consisted of Jews who spoke Yiddish, like Zamenhof's family. There were also minorities who spoke Polish, Russian, and German. Zamenhof came up with the idea of an international language while he was still at secondary school. He went to university and trained to be a doctor. But even after he began to practice as an ophthalmologist, he continued to work on his new language. He finally published a booklet describing it in 1887. He wrote it under a pseudonym, Dr. Esperanto, and he chose this name because in his new language, Esperanto means hope. Dr. Zamenhof had a modest ambition. He hoped that his creation, this new language, would bring about world peace, because he believed that the world was in fact divided by languages. And this is because, to some extent, while he was growing up in Białystok, he observed tensions among groups of people speaking different languages there. And he thought that if they could all speak a common language, they would have fewer conflicts. Zamenhof felt that the languages that people were already speaking were weighted down with all sorts of associations related to history, to politics, to national identity. He hoped that Esperanto could serve as a neutral language that would allow people to speak to each other simply as fellow human beings. No one would be forced to speak someone else's language to communicate. People would be able to relate to each other without any reference to nationality, and perhaps this would aid them in resolving conflicts and coexisting peacefully. Zamenhof wanted his language to be easy to learn, something that people could master within a few months. Therefore, Esperanto has a very simple grammar. It's completely regular, with no irregular verbs. All the nouns have the same gender. The vocabulary comes from Romance and Germanic languages, and this makes it easy for speakers of European languages to learn. Esperanto grew in popularity throughout the 20th century as more people began to learn the language, many of them because they shared Dr. Zamenhof's philosophy and beliefs. The development of Esperanto has now continued into the 21st century, and the advent of the internet has had a significant impact on the language, as learning it has become increasingly accessible. Esperanto even has its own Wikipedia section with 280,000 articles. It's estimated that about 2 million people worldwide speak Esperanto at some level. The language is currently spoken by people living in more than 100 countries. Now, of course, this number, 2 million, is still very small, and it doesn't seem as though the use of Esperanto is going to bring about world peace anytime soon. It's striking, however, that so many people continue to place their hope in Esperanto. Thank you.